Welcome aboard to Game Day Scoreboard. Joe Musso alongside the two-time champ and Bryant McFadden. BMAC, another 1 p.m. window that gave us a little bit of everything, including a matchup of good on good. The Ravens offense, the Broncos defense, one exposed for what they truly are. As we have hit a final in Baltimore, and it is a lopsided one at that. 41-10. Here are a couple massive plays en route to that outcome. Baltimore up a touchdown, but in the middle of the field, it's Lamar finding Zay Flowers, and how about some yak? Taking it up the far sideline and in for 6 right before halftime as the onslaught started from there.
Yes, sir.
Jackson finishing 16 of 19 for 280 and 3 touchdowns. He leads the league in most passing categories. That man right there leads in most rushing. King Henry with 100+ on 23 totes, 2 touchdowns for number 22 as well, a juggernaut. The unstoppable force and the immovable object. Now 6-3 Baltimore. That questionable secondary, not stressed much. Bo Nix did find 223 yards against it, but an INT and some missed receivers in the end zone spells a lopsided victory for the Ravens. Mac, this was, again, the comprehensive effort that we've grown accustomed to with this version of the Baltimore Ravens. What stands out from this performance by Baltimore?
Their ability to bounce back. What we saw last week surprised a lot of people, losing to the Cleveland Browns on the road.
Yeah.
But when you get the Baltimore Ravens coming off a loss at home, look out. You have to be prepared, and you got to protect yourself. Unfortunately for the Denver Broncos, they did not protect themselves in this matchup. And the thing that I watching this ball game was the fast start that we saw from the Baltimore Ravens. You talked about their defense, Joe. They've been a bit inconsistent, but in today's matchup, especially in the first quarter, they provided turnovers for their offense, and they were able to get off the football field on 4th down opportunities when you look at the Denver Broncos going for it on 4th down. So when you look at that element for Baltimore, if their defense can just be more consistent and stout like we saw today, we know what they have on the offensive side in Lamar Jackson and King Henry. But defensively, if they can put forth the effort they did today, look out. This could be a dangerous, dangerous team.
Yeah, if you add some defensive acumen, which we've also grown accustomed to in years past with Baltimore, to what this offense is, it's going to be a hard team to stop in any context. Talk to me about what you're seeing from Lamar and Derrick Henry. That's a perfect passer rating, 158.3 for Lamar Jackson, who time and again has been questioned for those passing abilities. Not this season. He's leading the league in most of those numbers and now has the most perfect passer rating games in anyone's career. 4 times in 86 starts. Peyton Manning's got 3 of them in 200 and something starts. He's been spectacular. How do you go about starting to game plan for all that multiple that you get from this Ravens offense?
And see, that's the thing. Most defenses, they don't know how to prepare for Lamar Jackson and then the addition of Derrick Henry when you're not used to playing against the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland, AFC North teams, they usually have success, more success than not, than some of the other teams that face off against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
We've seen it, we know it.
We've seen it.
You can kind of approach it a certain way.
Adjust. They know how to prepare. For a team like Denver, who came in with a really, really high-level, highly talented defense, they had no answer. And the thing about this, what makes Baltimore so scary, Lamar Jackson only had 3 rushes.
Yeah.
He did not run the football. He didn't need to run the football because Derrick Henry got things going. So when you look at what he does when he's running the football, especially on 1st downs, they're always in a great manageable 3rd down situation, and that's what we saw today.
We're taking you back out to the booth here in a moment with Tony Romo. Before we get there, Mac, a thought on the Denver side of this conversation, because defensively, we've seen a group that's really banded together throughout this year. Obviously going to be stressed by this offense, but offensively, Bo Nix, what did you see from his performance? Did miss a couple opportunities in and around the end zone, but still got some numbers out of this one.
I'm loving what I'm seeing from Bo Nix. You know, he played against a highly talented team. He made plays. He was able to buy time. He extended some plays, and that one interception that happened in the first quarter wasn't on him. The pass catcher got to come down with that ball. Deflection led to a turnover, but outside of that, you can tell he's become more acclimated within this offense, and with his ability to buy time, that can be a dangerous element for any opposing defense they face the rest of the way.
41-10 is your final in Baltimore as we take a look at some numbers coming out of this one. Lamar Jackson, most games with a perfect passer rating, 4 times in 86 starts. As you see, 265 for Peyton. His 3 perfect passer ratings. Again, 158.3, as good as you can get. 16 of 19 for 280 and 3 touchdowns, what it took to get there. The man's looking like money, so we take you out to the bank. The great Tony Romo here to offer his thoughts on the tail end of this one. Tony, this was billed as good on good. One of the best offenses in the league against one of the best defenses in the league, and this is obviously advantage offense. Where did Baltimore go about exploiting this defense for Denver?
I honestly think they just were Baltimore. So what they do is they look at your front. This is how simple I think they make it. They go, okay, you're in an over front. Well, here's the weakness or the stress points for an over front without a safety down. You'd run it to the bubble to the left, let's say. The next time it's like, all right, over front, safety down on the backside. Now the weakness is behind the safety in the second level, okay? And then they just keep doing this, and they call the play at the line of scrimmage. They come up there with 2 plays, and then all of a sudden they're like, it's just math to them and leverage. And you can't make the game that simple unless you have the talent and the ability of some of the players they have. But I honestly think it's a really, for me, it would be very difficult. I'm pretty good at coming up with a game plan, but this would be a real challenge for me to come up with one on how to solve this Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick turnaround as they will take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Those 2 quarterbacks have been fantastic throughout this year. 40 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions combined for Lamar and Burrow. But let's look inward because it's going to be a tough game plan for anybody. You've orchestrated offenses and led teams that have felt this sort of momentum that Baltimore's feeling right now. What's that conversation like internally when you've got it going this good?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you keep the mental approach. Every game, every day is about improving and being at our best. And just each week is its own game. It's like create the playoff atmosphere for every game and just make it about us being at our best as we keep going. And obviously, you know, they're peaking now, but they're really not, because I really do think they've made the game simple. And so I said it's really hard to come up with a game plan defensively to slow this down. Now, I do think you see some chances to attack them that I'm not going to throw out there now because it would take way too long. But I do think that right now their defensive secondary and the big plays, I mean, they just had some veterans give up some uniquely, like, not normal stuff where they just came out of coverage for no reason, their eyes. If they get disciplined there, and I think they will, because Dean Pease has come back, and he's going to shore that up. I mean, they're going to look like the favorite to me if that defensive secondary can slow down the shot plays and stuff down the deep middle of the field.
Yeah, it's the most refined version of the offense we've seen, but maybe not that stalwart of a defense to complement it that we've come to assume in years past. We'll see if they can match levels and get there with the offense as we've sort of flipped the script there. I know we've sort of done the triumvirate here on the rookie quarterbacks. You get your first look in person at Bo Nix. He's going to get a look at some tape, some missed opportunities in the end zone in this one on some drives. But what did you take away from this incremental growth that we've seen thus far from Nix?
You're exactly right. That's exactly what's happened to him. He started off the season, and they preach protect the ball, you know, ad nauseum there in Denver. Sean Payton comes from the Bill Parcells tree, Belichick, and, you know, you fumble as a running back, you don't play, and things like that. And so I think that kind of was in his brain to start the year. And now he's starting to open up a little bit. Obviously, he had the interception earlier, a little bit on the wide receiver as well. But I think their margin for error is smaller. They got to protect the football. They have to win the turnover battle for them to win. Their defense is going to be fine. They just ran into one of the great offenses we've seen. You'll see by the end of this year some of the numbers this offense will put up. It'll rival any offense, you know, ever from a rushing perspective with passing. And, you know, if they stay injury-free, and they have, I mean, this offensive line is dominant as well. They probably don't get as much credit, but I do think Denver's going to be okay. Bo Nix, his future's bright. I'd be excited if I'm a Denver fan.
We are officially past the midway meridian of the season. Going to see plenty of Baltimore, I'm sure. The great Tony Romo. Appreciate you, pal.
Thanks, guys.
All right, some numbers here on Derrick Henry, who was obviously a massive part of this effort as well. 1,000 rushing yards or more, 10 rushing touchdowns or more in first 9 games. Derrick Henry, the first to do that since Sean Alexander. Not only a stat-stuffing season for Alexander in 05, an MVP season. I won't say it because we live in a different world, but he is valuable. Derrick Henry leading the way here alongside Lamar Jackson.